In this video, we will talk about what 0 factorial is. So these factorials show up all the time when we're talking about formulas for permutations, and the next section we'll talk about something called a combination, and formulas for factorials show up in those as well. So it's going to be helpful for us to know what 0 factorial is, because that'll show up sometimes. Okay, so let's recall that n factorial is n times n minus 1 times n minus 2 dot 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 until I get down to 3 times 2 times 1. And this is true if n is a positive integer. So we're multiplying all of the positive integers starting at 1, going all the way up till n. And now the question is, what is 0 factorial? So there's one other thing that I want to remember about this, which is, remember that n factorial, this is the number of ways to permute n objects. So if I just have a set of n objects and I want to permute all n of them, n factorial is the number of ways I can do that. I can rearrange them. Okay, so with that in mind, I actually want to talk about two answers to this, how I can think about what 0 factorial is. So the first argument I'm going to give is a counting argument. So since n factorial is the number of ways to permute n objects, that means 0 factorial should be the number of ways to permute 0 objects. But if we have 0 objects, there's only one thing we can do, which is do nothing. Only one thing to do. Nothing. So because there's one thing that we can do, that means that 0 factorial is 1, which is a little bit weird, but nonetheless, that's what it is. So I also want to talk about one other way we could argue why 0 factorial is 1, but this one's going to be more algebraic in nature. Still, it's not going to be too bad. Okay, so recall 1 factorial and what that means. That's just 1. 2 factorial is 2 times 1, which is 2. 3 factorial is 3 times 2 times 1, which is 6. And I'll stop at 4 factorial. 4 factorial is 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, which is 24. So I want to use this pattern to kind of go back and think about what would 0 factorial be. So notice, to get from 1 factorial to 2 factorial, I multiply by 2. And to get from 2 factorial to 3 factorial, we multiply by 3. And to get from 3 factorial to 4 factorial, we multiply by 4. And then going in the reverse direction, to get from 24 to 6, we divide by 4. And from 6 to 2, we divide by 3. And to get from 2 to 1, we would divide by 2. So going with that pattern, to get from 1 factorial to 0 factorial, I should be dividing, whoops, let me give myself more room for this. We should be dividing by 1. And if you divide by 1, 1 divided by 1 is 1. And that is what it is. 0 factorial is 1. We've just shown it in another way. So in the next video, we will talk about how and when we add in counting problems versus when we multiply in counting problems.